Go ahead and start with we'll, we'll do it now. Do the pledge now. Please join me in the pledge. Okay. Um, okay. Is there a motion to allow Deborah to participate in the electronic motion by team? Allow Deborah to Zoom. Is there a second? Second by Mark. Further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Welcome, Deborah.
Hey, thanks.
Okay. Is there a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Section .2 -37118? Review and consider prospective. We have a motion by Mark. There a second? Second by Tammy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Deborah? Deborah, you in favor?
Oh, yeah, I did. I raised my hand.
I
Yes.
think you have to speak and then it'll point. Okay. This time we're in closed session. second by Tammy. Did it? We certify that
Yeah.
we spoke. Certify. And Deborah?
Yes, I certify.
Okay, we're back in open session. Is there, uh, what is, council's pleasure on acting on planning commission? We had 4 applicants.
We have 4. Had
Yes.
to do.
I would,
Should we
make
write
a
it on pa-
think, no. Yes. So, she, yeah, right, tab 1, tab 1. Under tab 1. You're making a
I'll make
motion.
that we.
Hold on. All right, let me explain. We're gonna take individual motions, pointing somebody to the planning. Valerie's. '21. Arthur 7/123. Mark has made a motion. Billy, Mark. Is there a second? Okay, is there any discussion? I don't know how else we gotta be individual and have to vote.
So can I clarify, are you guys just taking nominations right now? Because some of you are talking in your microphone and some of you are not.
So at this time, there's a motion on the floor to appoint Tina Gamble to the planning commission with a term ending 7/1/2023. We have a motion
This
by
was
Mark
Valerie's
and a
position
second
before, is
by
that correct?
Tina. Tammy,
Or
I'm
what does
sorry.
it say Coyle by it?
I listed all of that you could go on the. They're not all going to be able to.
Okay. Gotcha. But we're
Okay.
not voting on it, is that right? We're just making nominations?
No, we're going to be voting on it. We have a motion and a second.
I
We're just having further. So any, just to make it aware, if they're appointed to these terms, it can, council at that time can just appoint them. So in March, it would, for logistic purposes tonight, it's getting them in a spot, and then we'll have to sort out some.
Really, it was.
technically we'll still have Valerie right now on planning
Right.
commission. We won't, term's not up yet. Still
So
on
can-
planning commission. Arthur's coming off planning, Jeff's coming off planning, Amondo's off. Because her term's not up. I don't- He was appointed the commission, town council member on planning commission before.
So can I did Valerie make another nomination for Scott?
No, not at this time. We have to act on Tina first, and then we can
Okay.
move to the next three. Okay,
Gotcha.
all in favor, raise your right hand. Is serving, being appointed by first 20 term. Motion passed. Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yes.
we have two other spots available.
I'll second that.
With term. So,
Place.
okay, we have a motion for Charles to place the term of March 1st, 2021. We have a second by Deborah. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? No? Okay, Deborah?
Yes. Great.
Okay. And we have one spot left. Is there another motion? Okay, we have a motion for Sandy Pelter for the March 6th, one term. There's second. Second by Otis. Further discussion? Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Deborah?
Yes. I'm raising my hand. I guess you just can't.
Yeah, it doesn't, the camera doesn't go to you until it picks up your voice.
Okay. No problem.
Okay? Alrighty. Have fulfilled the planning commission. Alrighty. We've already done, for the public's knowledge, we've already done the pledge. So at this time, we're gonna take a recess until 7. We're gonna do our swearing in, our new council and mayor, and we will reconvene at 7 with the public hearing.
Congratulations.
electronic means. Okay? Turn it over to who's going to go first?
Valerie? Okay. Not have to repeat after me. You just answer, because after I've run the oath, answer yes, okay? Great. Raise your right hand, please. I, Valerie G. Coyle, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Bowling Green Town Council for a 4-year term, commencing January 1st, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2024, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Okay, now,
Thank you,
who's going
Valerie.
to need to sign this? So,
Jeff, we'll do Jeff Voigt next.
Jeff Boyd
Jeff's right over here. Yep.
and Black Better.
Okay, we'll do Jeff Voigt.
Okay, Jeff, raise your right hand. I, Jeff A. Voigt, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Bowling Green Town Council for a 4-year term commencing January 1st, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2024, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Okay.
Thank you,
We'll
Jeff.
pass the blue.
Okay, we will do Jerry Covington. You want to
Okay.
come up, Jerry? And
Thank you. Your right hand, please. I, Jerry D. Covington, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Bowling Green Town Council for a 4-year term commencing January 1st, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2024, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you.
okay, thank you, Jerry. Arthur Hooley.
I, Arthur B. Hooley, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of the duties incumbent upon me as a member of the Bowling Green Town Council for a 4-year term commencing January 1st, 2021, ending December 31st, 2024, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Thank you, Arthur. And Mayor-elect Mark Gaines.
Changing the hats. I, Mark A. Gaines, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge all of the duties incumbent on me as the mayor of the town of Bowling Green for a term commencing January 1st, 2021, and ending December 31st, 2024, according to the best of my ability, so help me God. Thank you.
Congratulations to each and every one of y'all. It's a little bit of a bittersweet night. Passing off the baton to Mark to guide council over the next 4 years, and I know he can do the job just as well as anyone can. So I commend y'all for putting your names in the hat. It's not a job to take lightly, and I wish you all the best, and keep the keep the heart of the town in your thoughts as you make decisions that affect the whole town. So, congratulations to everybody.
Hang on one second before we get started. As everybody knows, as we have incumbent members go out, we usually offer a plaque or a resolution in their behalf. I wasn't aware of this until I got here, but we have one here for the Honorable Jason Satterwhite for his commemorative service of 4 years to this town of Green. It says, in recognition and appreciation for his service as mayor for the town of Bowling Green, January 1st, 2017 to December 31st, 2020. And we figured this would be the best time to do it when we got a good audience here to really show his appreciation for his hard work and dedication and service to our community. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you. Well, first off, I want to say thank you. It's been an honor. I usually get emotional with things like this, so I'm sure I will. But and I was hoping we were going to do this at the end, and maybe all the people would leave before the public hearing, after the public hearing, and it wouldn't be as many people here because that's what I've hung my hat on. Is I'm the mayor that does not like public speaking, and I survived 4 years of it. So, but I have some notes here if y'all don't mind me taking a couple minutes. You know, I served 8 years before the mayor spot, and I've enjoyed it. But we've survived. And the main reason we survived through this is because of our staff that we've put in place over the years. We couldn't do this job and govern the town the way that we needed to without the day-to-day help of the good people that we put in place. Just some highlights of some things that I was jotting down earlier of accomplishments that we've done over the 12 years that I've been involved in. And none of these are attributed just to me because I was just one of 8 at the time. And there's some council members that were on that aren't no longer. And we had the previous mayor was heavily involved in some of these too. But we became a golf cart community. That doesn't seem like a big deal, but we do have golf carts in town, and it's kind of boosted the morale in town at times, and it's pretty cool to see the golf carts coming through town. One of my favorite things is, a lot of times government brings things to town that you want to bring a tax revenue, and you want to make sure that you're gaining some type of financial return on your investment. Well, we made an investment in the town and our future with the playground out here. We spent money on a playground that actually will not bring us any revenue to the town, but it will give our kids a place to play to post-COVID. We can all get together out there and celebrate that. And we also built the pavilion. The water, I was just talking to Bern earlier about the water down 301. Sandy brought this up during her interview for Planning Commission. When the town annexed the 301 corridor, it was so that we could grow the town, and it sat still for a while. They always say you build it, it will come. We built it. We're waiting, but it will come. It will. You have to put infrastructure in the ground to get things to come, and we did that. We established the EDA. That's been big for the town. The EDA actually owns 5 acres of land that we look to develop here sometime in the future. We've upgraded our sewer system. I know we've had some challenges with that project, and we're going to talk about a couple of those issues, but those pipes have been there for many, many years, and we've actually put some infrastructure back in the ground there. I know the water project is a sore subject because the rates will have to go up, but to ensure that us, our families, our future has clean water to drink, we have to put money back into our system. So, you know, we've got the grants into place, the water upgrade. We've upgraded a lot of our equipment in the public works field. Our sewer treatment plant is up to par. We have no issues now. Majority of our staff is trained at the sewer plant. And just a few years ago, we were talking about selling our water system and our sewer system and handling it over to the county, and now we're fully self-sufficient. That's a big deal. We started out down an adventure with a part-time contract events coordinator. We've brought Joelsa now on full-time, and she's also handling economic development for the town. That's a big deal. We have a full-time police chief. We've revamped our police department, and their equipment now is top-notch. I want to thank the staff. I know I'm going to call a few people individually, but that's not to slight everybody. Everybody in this town works hard, and they put the towns at the front of their thoughts and their decisions. Melissa has been through all of it with us. Joelsa has been a big key part of this. Tracy and Judy keep the front office running, and we couldn't do it with each one of those. We look forward to Josh and all that he brings to the Public Works Department and the utility side, and all of the staff down there that do the thankless jobs every day to make sure that we have safe water, the leaves picked up, the town looks beautiful. So I just want to thank each and every one of them. I want to thank Andrea, a town attorney. It's been uneasy sitting up here without her right here beside me, you know, keeping me in check and making sure that I do what I need to do properly. But thank her for all that she does for this town. And thank you to council for allowing me to be the mayor and serve y'all in this capacity for the last 4 years. It's been a pleasure. We've had our battles, we've had our disagreements, but overall we've worked together to continue to better the town. So with that being said, I just encourage y'all to continue to get feedback from the town and take their input into the decisions that you make, and don't put your personal opinions out there out front first. Again, thank you for allowing me to serve you for the last 12 years. I appreciate it. Okay, we will, is there a motion? Earlier, we made a motion just for the public to know to allow Deborah to join the public hearing, the closed session by electronic means, so we're okay with her. I need a motion to allow Glenn to join via. Okay, we have a motion.
And it's for a medical reason.
It's for medical reasons. I have a motion by Mark and a second by Tammy. All in favor, raise your right hand. Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, we'll get started. The first item on our agenda tonight is the future land use map. We're going to allow the public. We'll allow the public to come to the podium, state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes to say what you'd like to say, and then I have one email from a citizen that I'll read at the end. But just maintain your social distancing the best you can as you line up for this. And if there's anybody that would like to speak, please come to the mic and state your name and address. Public hearing is open.
Hi, I'm Peg. My address, Lafayette Avenue. Or it should I feel what I've heard are in similar to have online that regards to developing 11 plus acres. They would like to keep not so not crowded. They like to have country atmosphere. Several people find recently because of their country likes that. That's why I feel that's important to maintain that. I also several comments about water adding subdivision. The other thing I would like to emphasize that there are subdivision development. They aren't that should be the other thing. Think about what we have to offer that before. I would appreciate that land, not a high.
Thank you. And just for clarifications, just to make sure everybody's aware, this public hearing is on the future land use map, not necessarily any property in particular, but yeah, fine. Melissa will put up a few slides just for reference purposes. An adoption of the future land use map is also a component of the comprehensive plan, which requires, planning commission and town council to host these public hearings, and act on. Well, she's getting that right. Is there anyone else that would like to address council regarding the future land use map?
My name is Ashley. I live, like Peggy, Barbara. I do have concerns, moderate, any of that type that would atmosphere, traffic, and I know that it's not, but my preference would. I also have that word, and there would be potential for any time. They would put entrance on two, and we already have a lot of traffic. Houses being built, and we also are at end. No, I don't know what the. I've heard, a lot. I would prefer.
Thank you. Okay.
For clarification purposes, I'd like to just quickly discuss the difference between a future land use map and a rezoning or a zoning map. So the future land use map is a component of the comprehensive plan and serves as a tool guide. It's allowing us to plan for the future. The difference between a zoning map and a future use map is the future is options, or where the zoning is Right now, what can you do on your land? The future use map does not change anyone. Your zoning will remain exactly as it is. Your neighborhood zoning will exactly as it is, regardless of the future, unless they apply for a rezoning. A rezoning would require additional public hearing. In addition to what's happening here, you have to come in, planning commission, and have a public hearing. All neighbors would have a notice sent to them, all joining landowners, and it would be advertised. That would happen again, that the planning commission would vote and send recommendations to town council. That would happen at the town council level. They would also have a public hearing, and the public would have the chance to speak. Also important to note that when a rezoning is considered, the planning commission and the town council do look at things like structure, plant capacity, resources. All of these things are considered. Don't go in and rezone blind. We have also been in the talks with a third-party planner, Berkeley Group, to help us with the zoning and planning decision. So I would like to just everyone give confidence that it's not just the staff, have professional planners and working with it as well. It's important to note that what's happening tonight is not changing anyone's zoning. Everything will remain the same until a specific rezoning comes in on a specific piece.
All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
My name is Arthur Hooley. I'm at 137 South Main. If the map, I would ask that table the voting on top that positions coming town council and also and at the structure county. Also in the first of the year we could all come together and work on a plan that the town grow.
Thank you, Arthur. Is there anyone else that would like to speak regarding the future use map?
Sandra, personal, well as I agree. Work with.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jeff Seal, I live at 205 Travis Street. And in light of the lack of detail that should be developed before you do the future map, I think that the details behind that future map should be actually fleshed out and developed before you actually apply the future map. Because once you all approve the future use map, it becomes the groundwork for what everybody will look at for development in the town. I do agree that I think that this decision should be deferred to the next town council, since for many of you tonight is your last meeting. And I think that the new planning commission and the new town council should have an opportunity to take a fresh look at this, since they will have to live with those plans for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Anyone else? Second call?
I asked. Take decisions. Careful decisions. Think of our nation. Prices is everything costs dollars.
We just need to keep the public comment during this section
Okay.
regarding the future
Anyway,
land use map.
make
I'm
careful
sorry.
decisions. Make decisions. I agree with them. This would be a nice thing to have a joint work session with and the county. Sorry, Mr.
Okay, no problem. Okay, I want to read one email before, if there's nobody else that would like to speak, I want to read one email from a citizen, Barbara Allen. Barbara Allen wrote, Bowling Green Mayor and Town Council member, I am pleased with the new 2020 conceptual map for future land use which is proposed by the Planning Commission and before you tonight for approval. This plan helps preserve the charm and rural character of the town of Bowling Green. I would ask you to reconsider the low moderate density residential area in the southern part of our town. Changing this zoning to R1 would acknowledge the current residents of South Bowling Green, who have owned and maintained their homes so beautifully for the past up to 150 years. They have maintained Bowling Green's small town charm and beauty as well as contributed to Bowling Green's financial security. This change would enhance the current environment of the area and continue to attract citizens like the new and longtime residents who currently call Bowling Green home. We must also consider the town's ability to provide necessary services to the proposed houses in the area. The land in the mixed-use area of the 301 corridor offers the town many options for future growth. Rooftops come with a big cost to the town in the long run. Careful planning is very important. Thanks to each of you for your time and your hard work for the town of Bowling Green. Dearly, Barbara Allen. Now, there a third call to anybody?
Okay, Jeff Voigt, 139 Courthouse Lane. I should just end after Arthur spoke. I will say that I am happy as is, but I do recognize that at Planning Commission we've been the one ideas had aren't necessary. Our next step is the action plan that would probably, and currently that map in front of me, I can't take that map and say our plan because we haven't done it yet. So to keep it short, I could understand if you like us some of the rest. And I'll just say that we are working, give protection, and understand.
Thank you, Jeff. Before I close the public hearing, I will allow Andrea to.
No, go ahead and close.
Okay, last call. Anyone that would like to address council regarding the future land use map? Okay, the public hearing's closed.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we push this further
Hold on,
out.
but can we let Andrea speak first and then we'll do the motion? Just, I'd like to hear what thoughts are real quick, not to cut you off.
I think that there's no adopting. Council has time given the sense. Okay. It's not time sensitive.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we push it off while one of the main reasons is because, like Jeff was saying, we don't have a process that governs, that really governs this. If we put it out there, then it kind of leaves things open. So until the planning commission put a workforce together that governs how we see this, you think we ought to wait, because it's like we're putting the cart before the kind of. I think we ought to give them the opportunity that, and then come back with it. I'll have a little bit better idea on how this use work. Help us out.
Okay. So you're making a motion to delay action?
To delay action.
Okay, is there a second?
Can I make comment to that?
Let's get a second, then we can go into discussion. We have a second by Tammy, and now we can.
I just want to make it known that the Planning Commission does not govern. We do not legislate. We recommend, we advise. So just so you do realize that, that is what the Planning Commission.
Any further discussion? All in favor of delaying action on the future land use map, raise your right hand. Glenn, Deborah,
I'm gonna whisper.
okay. Glenn,
Changing. This doesn't.
Other than I,
That's put in. And they're one.
okay, Otis, for favor. All opposed, raise your right hand. Okay, we have 4-2 with. Okay. So we will delay this until agenda for council. Next item on the agenda is another public hearing. Application has been made by Bowling Green Properties LLC to rezone 221 North Main Street from B1 business zoning R1 residential. The Planning Commission called a public hearing at its November 16th recommended approval. Is there a public hearing's open? Is there anyone that would like to address council regarding this property? Second call? Third and final?
Make a prediction. Zoning.
Okay. We have a motion. We have a motion by Glenn to accept the rezoning RZS 2020-001. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second by Valerie. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Glenn?
the roll call.
Okay. Otis? Tammy? Mark? Valerie? Gene? Glenn?
Yes.
Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is public comment. At this time, anyone can address council regarding any matter. Come to the podium, state your address if you council. Okay, and no one. Move on to our staff reports, the police department monthly report. Are there any questions, comments that we can take back to our? I do see that they're still working on the green. 2005. They're working on. Hearing nothing, we'll move on to the public works, facilities department monthly report. Josh is here this evening. If anybody has any questions,
Did have a couple of questions.
okay.
Josh, can you have outstanding?
He's making his way to the podium.
No, any artist.
Were there any major issues?
No, none at the plant. As far as that August 1 pilot law affected. Kind of like
Hey, Glenn, did you hear that? They got everything fixed.
Kind of. Well, a couple other questions. So we've decided to abandon well number 2 because cost of raising the lowering or whatever we were doing on the well itself.
No, well number 2, as part of our water permit, well number 2 and well number 3 were required to be abandoned by December 1st, 2020. So that's the reason why well number 2 on Moore Avenue was abandoned.
Why are we abandoning the wells?
It's part of requirement in the water permit.
It was part of the requirement of the water permit that we had, Glenn.
Okay. Do have one other question for you in regards to the a little bit of information on the kickoff meeting with the engineering group for the wastewater upgrade. Can you give us any information on that?
So the kickoff meeting was part of our PER. We accepted their PER proposal, and that was just a kickoff meeting for the PER for the wastewater for the plant and for the sewer lines in town. I think it went really well. We went over, we showed the engineers around the plant and discussed future what we wanted, and we showed them around town to where sewer lines need to be replaced. And so, working with them over the next few months, we're going to develop the PER on those.
Okay, so a couple of months to get the CER done.
Yes, so the part of it is the PER and then environmental report. And they said it's probably going to be the beginning of summer before they were finished and had everything ready for review.
Okay, thanks, appreciate it.
Hey, Josh. All right, so according to our permit, well 4 is going to come off in 2026, correct?
It's 2025. I
2020.
believe. It is the requirement for to
26 or 25? I think it's 26. It gives us 5 years on that well.
Well 4 is December 1st, 2025.
Okay. So we got 5 years on that one. So that leaves us, at that time, that'll leave us with 2 wells, 1A and 5, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now we got the one that was capped off and given to us by Bill Webb.
Yes, sir.
So we are already working on establishing that well to be used in replace of this one, or, what are we standing on that right now?
Yes, sir. So I was working on getting quotes because we would need a drawdown test, samples to be grabbed for bacteriological, radiological samples to make sure we can actually pull from that well. We need to start working with DEQ and the health department to meet their requirements, and then get the permit modified. So start working with them on doing that.
Yeah, because once 4 goes off, it takes us from 360,000 gallons per day down to 260,000 gallons per day. Is this also including once we start raising the wells up, the pumps up out the ground? Aren't we going to lose some of our flow as well? What we're able to pull per day.
So what we're as part of the permit, what we're able to pull, like when you take a well offline, it won't change what you can pull out of the ground. All it'll change is well 1A and 5 will run longer instead of running shorter.
Right, and then that there can draw the possibility of alpha coming in sooner too, because they're doing a bigger drawdown on them. Correct?
I mean, water characteristics, I mean, they change at any time.
Right. Well, the reason I'm just asking is this because, we got people wanting to propose, how we're going to grow this town, and especially the Route 301 corridor, and also this letter of trying to show support for the county as far as putting a pipe in the reservoir, in the river, to pull water up in the next 20, 30 years. Water is not in that basin is not a given, deal. It can change at any time, like you say. So I'm just saying it's something that we need to look into to try to make sure that we maintain water for our people here, especially if we want to grow the town, because our percentage is going to drop unless we can get another well in, which isn't cheap to do. So I'm just saying we need to, stay on top of that. And I hear that you're doing a pretty good job with staying on it. We just need to follow up more and see, where we're going to be, so we know what our future outlook is going to look like.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
So the question, there's another discussion on that in regards to that point, Mark. If down the road that we're going to abandon our wells and take in water from somewhere else, does it make sense then to invest a couple of $1 million into a treatment plant? Because the county would like to take over a treatment plant and put a pump system there. So that's a consideration that we have to look at.
Yeah, you're right. Because the more we bring in, the more we got to put out. And we're going to have to start testing for nitrates and nitrogens here soon, which is going to be a big upgrade to the system.
Well, it sounds like Josh has started the process on the next well site. So, just continue to work diligently on that as we, approach 2024 before we have to take the third one or another one offline. So, thank you, Josh. Tammy, did you have something?
I did. Just in reference to your staff over there, is Ashley still on? Is that her name, Ashley?
Alicia.
Alicia. Is she still on FMLA or?
I don't know if that's appropriate.
Yeah. We can't talk about that in a public meeting.
Okay. Do you have somebody able to step in if something should happen to you? Is there a licensed person after you?
So the permit requires that a class 2 operator be available. So not necessarily on site. So if there's an operator there, as long as I'm available by phone and they can reach me, then that's there. I mean, currently I'm working on, having everybody get to that point. So then that way it has a class 2. But currently, other than myself having a high enough wastewater license, would be no. We do have one individual part-time that does have a class 2 if staff needs to reach out to him as well. So there's 2 of us currently.
All right, thank you, John.
Yes, Melissa.
I just want to address two things that were mentioned by Mark and Josh was a little, I think, hesitant on. The PER does, the upgrades will address treating for the nitrates and nutrients. That's included in this. We weren't going to upgrade the plant and then not upgrade to the best technology. Because at any time, DEQ could require us to start treating for those nutrients. And in fact, there's a push right now to fully fund the Chesapeake Bay Act. And with that, I would assume that we would then be held to higher standards on that Chesapeake Bay Act because it's going to give some funding to local governments. That would be the intention. So I just want to point that out. And also for the well, we do have a plan to pay for that well, and that was part of what I had presented the water rates when we were raising the water rates to put some of that money away for CIP, which would then fund the well.
Yeah, I just want to say, the governing body has to govern the town, but we have experts on staff that we need to take their knowledge also and make sure that we understand. They do have a plan that they may not be able to present in a 2-minute scenario here, standing at a public meeting. So I know each one of them are more than willing to sit down and show you the plans, in depth as you go forward. So,
And if I could make a suggestion, maybe for the next couple of meetings, or maybe outside of a meeting, it would be a good idea for staff to be able to talk with the council to kind of provide more in-depth detail about the services that we provide and what's involved.
yeah, I think that would be good to have a work session to bring people up to speed. Okay. Thank you, Josh. The next item is skip one. Events and Economic Development Coordinator, monthly report. Are there any questions for Joe Elsa?
I have one.
Yes.
So Joe Elsa, will VDOT refund us our $100?
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a hard time
Will-
hearing tonight.
Will VDOT refund us the permit?
I do not believe so, but I can certainly follow up with VDOT and find out. It's a $100 fee, so, but I can certainly find out and get back to council on that.
Thank you.
Okay. All righty.
Joel, so where are we at on the CARES money going to the businesses?
I think we have that under number 11 under unfinished
Okay.
business. We can get to that there. Just remind me, please.
Yeah, I'm happy to address any questions about the CARES Act. I assume that you all would want to take care of that under unfinished business as it's laid out on your agenda.
Okay. Yes, we will. Okay. Next item is the
Thank you.
Town Clerk Treasurer's Acting Town Manager monthly report. Any questions for Melissa?
I'd be happy to take any questions, but I do have a couple very quick updates if there's no questions.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, one is I would like to point out we're using this great new projector screen up here. That's an automated a remote screen. That's part of the CARES Act. It's part of the whole audiovisual package. It's not complete yet. That's why we're not using the speaker. It's going to be a mounted projector up above. You're not going to see. So that is almost done. That should be done tomorrow. We'll have all of our audiovisual installed.
Motion by Jean. Is there a second? Second by Valerie. Any further discussion?
I have a question. Melissa, what was the total there on, what was the total there on the corner of Main and Milford right?
To date, I believe we are at 50,000. They're not done with the asphalt though. So we're going to get another bill when that asphalt comes in.
won't be smoked. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And that's more discussion to be had at the end of the meeting for that too. Okay, all in favor, raise your right hand. Deborah,
Yes, it's
Glenn,
raised. You just
Glenn,
Yes.
okay, motion passes. Now we'll move on to the EDA CARES Act, unfinished business. I will defer to Joelsa without reading all that's here.
So, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you all will notice in your packet that after you'll remember, just a brief reminder of how we set this up. We had three categories. One was PPE, personal protective equipment. The second was technology, and the third was small business assistance. Those first two categories were handled by the town of Bowling Green. The third, small business assistance, was handled by the EDA, as you all provided or adopted in a resolution at the October meeting. So the way that Melissa and I thought of this, and this was after a number of work sessions with the EDA and a number of meetings in-house with Melissa, just between Melissa and I. Once the PPE and the technology categories were all reconciled, we were then left with a balance. In total, in PPE and technology, $102,436 was spent on PPE and technology through the town. That left the EDA with a balance of $106,695. We made the CARES Act application available to all businesses in town as early as September 22nd, I believe, is when the first communication went out to businesses. For those businesses that I didn't have emails for, I contacted or went to visit directly to make sure that we were covering all of our bases. We received a total of 27 applicants. There was an option to get a small business stimulus for COVID relief. And there was an option for HVAC filtration with Performance Air, which you all may remember Councilmember McDermott educated and informed you all of this technology. So that was an option that we gave to small business as well. We had 27 applicants total. 4 out of those 27 applicants applied for HVAC filtration only. 23 out of the 27 applicants applied for the small business assistance stimulus. We had Tim Perry from Performance Air come out and do, I'm sorry, I should clarify something. 4 out of the 27 applied for HVAC filtration only. 23 out of the 27 applied for small business stimulus and HVAC. We had Tim Perry come out and do site-specific estimates on each address that requested HVAC filtration. His estimate totaled, and again, these were site-specific, with the idea being that we would prepay Performance Air so that we could expend that CARES Act money before the deadline of December 30th. Performance Air came back with a total of $42,110, which left the EDA with a balance of $64,185. Additionally, Councilman Thurman had posed a question or had given some direction to me to double check with Legal Counsel with Andrea to make sure, to see if there would be conflicts of interest with regard to council members or EDA members that would be receiving this stimulus. So I believe Melissa put in your packet a disclosure form that Andrea has provided for you all. For anyone of you all that's on council or anyone who's on the EDA that'll be accepting this stimulus or HVAC filtration and or the HVAC filtration.
And I also recommend that you abstain from voting.
Okay.
And Andrea can answer more questions about this disclosure than I can, but it is provided for you and it will be public record.
Okay.
That is the synopsis of how this has played out. I want to say that it's been really productive working with Melissa and with the EDA and with Town Council on the CARES Act funding. I know that a lot of folks felt like this was taking a long time. We have a small staff, and we really worked around the clock to make sure that these funds were expended properly, and that folks knew what was available to them. So with that, I thank you all, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you all may have.
Okay. Just for clarification purposes, as we all know that the EDA, we directed them to handle the CARES Act. They did, and we would pass over the money as they approved what was spent. So we need a motion to appropriate the $106,510 of CARES Act funds to the EDA, with $42,110 to be paid to Performance Air and $64,400 to be distributed equally to applicable small businesses. But we also, if you are a property owner and you would be benefiting from that, we, at the advice of the town attorney, that we would sign the conflict of interest disclosure and abstain from voting on that.
So the disclosure needs to be made orally and then an abstention from the vote.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion that we provide those funds to the EDA for disbursement to the small business community.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, and we're going to do a roll call vote, and that will allow us, anyone that is in conflict, to abstain. Jean?
Abstain.
Valerie? Mark?
I abstain.
And just for clarification, you're abstaining due to the conflict of interest?
The statement that is at your place.
I'm sorry,
needs to be read.
can you read the statement on the back side there, Jean?
I, Jean M. Davis, am not participating in the discussion of voting on providing CARES Act funds to local businessmen because I own Mary Kay Cosmetics. Jean M. Davis.
And you've applied for reimbursement under the CARES Act?
Yes.
Okay. Mark, would you read the same statement?
Yeah, I, Mark Gaines, am not participating in the discussion of voting on the providing CARES Act funds to the local businesses because I own Chase Street Hops and Magnolia Morning LLCs. And I have applied for reimbursement under the CARES Act.
Okay.
Yes.
Deborah?
I'm looking for what page, because I have to abstain too. Sorry, guys. Where did you find the statement at? What
It's on the
page?
back side of the spreadsheet, page 55.
Go to tab 11 and go to the last sheet.
Thank you. All righty. Here, Pamela. Sorry, excuse me, guys. Okay. I, Deborah Howard, cannot participate in the discussion or voting on the Providing CARES Act funds of local business because I own the Painted Horse on 114 Main Street, and I've applied for reimbursement under the CARES Act.
Okay. Glenn?
Aye.
Okay.
With the CARES Act.
Okay, thank you.
Joelsa,
Yes.
There's obviously a couple of businesses that did not apply. Did they give a specific reason as to why they did not, or?
I think there's lots of different answers for that, Valerie. Some folks didn't apply, and this is my professional opinion. I think that some businesses didn't apply just because they don't, they have a humble position with regard to taking government money.
Hear
I
ya.
think some folks were reluctant to disclose some of the required information. And, I think that some folks just are by nature kind of reluctant to take government money for fear that something's
ya.
going to come back to bite them.
Yeah, there's a string attached.
Yeah,
Right.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is the FOIA training. Andrea, would you like to move that back a little bit and let me get a few of these other
Sure.
few other
Yeah.
items
Yeah, that's good.
out of the way? So we'll do the infectious disease policy next, and then we'll come back to number 12 after number 15. We'll give you 15 and 16 back to back, Andrea. 15 and 12 back to back. Okay, Melissa, I'll give a quick background. Virginia Department of Labor and Industries, Virginia Occupational Safety and Health Program adopted an emergency temporary standard designed to establish requirements for employers to control, prevent, and mitigate the spread of COVID-19. The standard requires that the employer develop and implement policies and procedures that address the handling of infectious diseases in the workplace. In addition to the adoption of the policy, Department of Labor and Industry requires that all employees be categorized by their exposure risk level and receive proper training based on their risk level. The process is currently underway. We have a draft policy, and we need a motion to adopt the policy.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a really quick statement about that, guys. This is very, very critical and very important. And if you don't follow these state guidelines, there's some significant penalties involved in that. My company does the same thing. We have our own policies, but in addition to that, we're required to follow the Virginia local policies. So whatever we had in place before, this is what we need to follow because this is a pretty comprehensive guidelines.
Okay.
And this policy is based on the model that's put out by the Virginia Department of Labor.
Okay. Is there a motion to adopt a policy?
Okay.
We have a motion by Mark. Is there a second? Second by Tammy. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I just had a quick question. I know Melissa and Joelsa are tagged as individuals to serve as health officers. I was just wondering if Josh Irby should be, since he has his plant and all of his people, and he is on site all the time and can actually see everything that's happening there continuously.
And with that being said, should we add the police chief too as kind of the department heads as
for
our
their
health officers?
Oh no.
I think that will their own department.
So my recommendation is that you not expand the health officers, because the health officer is kind of like
Okay.
the person that's going to have to help coordinate contacting anyone else that might have been exposed. As supervisors of their departments, Josh and the police chief would be responsible for reporting to either Melissa or Joelsa.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Glenn?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is a resolution of appreciation for outgoing council members. I have two resolutions to read, since Melissa wouldn't agree to read them. The first resolution is for a resolution of the Bowling Green Town Council. One thing I did, I lost my eyesight over this 4 years too, so along with the gray hair. So a resolution of the Bowling Green Town Council commending Otis Wright for his service and dedication to the town of Bowling Green and its governing body. Whereas Otis Wright has served on town council for the town of Bowling Green from January 1, 2005 until December 31st, 2020. And whereas Otis Wright was elected by the citizens of the town of Bowling Green from a group of excellent and highly qualified civic-minded residents of the town of Bowling Green. And whereas Otis Wright served on the personnel committee ensuring that the town of Bowling Green is adequately staffed with qualified employees. And whereas Otis Wright served on the building and grounds and facilities committees ensuring the maintenance and upkeep of the town facilities and property. And whereas Otis Wright represented town council by volunteering for numerous town-sponsored events, including Harvest Festival Classic Car Show and the Bowling Green Christmas Parade. And whereas Otis Wright has successfully worked with members of town council to make decisions for the betterment of the town of Bowling Green and its residents. And whereas Otis Wright, as is the case with all town officials, has given many hours of his time in service to the town. And whereas Otis Wright has been dedicated to building relationships between local business owners by Town Council of Bowling Green, Virginia. Otis, thank you for all that you have done for the town.
Here, here.
You were very thorough in your committee work. You definitely put in the time with the events. It was a pleasure serving as a judge with you for the parade. And you truly did embody what it means to be a good council member. And thank you for all your years of service. And we hope that you stay active. As I always say, I'm going to stay active on the other side of the podium, and we can be the ones fussing. So thank you, Otis. Next, Glenn, I am very sorry that you can't be here and I cannot present this in person tonight. But we have a resolution of the Bowling Green Town Council commending Glenn McDermott for his service and dedication to the town of Bowling Green and its governing body. Whereas Glenn McDermott has served the town council of the town of Bowling Green from January 1, 2005 until December 31st, 2020. And whereas Glenn McDermott has served as vice mayor from 2006 to 2017. And whereas Glenn McDermott was elected by the citizens of the town of Bowling Green from a group of excellent and highly qualified civic-minded residents of the town of Bowling Green. And whereas Glenn McDermott represented town council as a member of the Economic Development Authority of the town of Bowling Green. And whereas Glenn McDermott has successfully worked with members of town council to make decisions for the betterment of the town of Bowling Green and its residents. And whereas Glenn McDermott has been instrumental in improving the aesthetic of Main Street and assisted small businesses through support of the Facet Improvement Grant Program. And whereas Glenn McDermott has the Facade Improvement Grant Program. Sorry, the whereas got me. And whereas Glenn McDermott has been dedicated to building relationships between local business owners, residents, organizations, and civic groups. And whereas Glenn McDermott was actively serving the town of Bowling Green when economic development programs were implemented, such as enterprise zones, tourism zones, opportunity zones, thereby supporting future economic stability of the community. And whereas
Jason Satterwhite was elected by the citizens of the town of Bowling Green from a group of excellent and qualified civic-minded residents of the town of Bowling Green. And Jason Satterwhite has demonstrated excellence in leadership skills and successfully worked with members of the town council to encourage consensus. And Jason Satterwhite has supported the town staff, positioning employees of the town of Bowling Green to be the most successful in their job's duties. And Jason Satterwhite, as in the case with town officials, has given many hours of his time and service to the town. And Jason Satterwhite has also acted with distinction in the best interests of the town of Bowling Green and its residents. He has
To do these individually, Andrea?
Yeah, you can do them all together.
Is there a motion to adopt resolutions R 2020-015, 016, and 017?
I make a motion to adopt
and I'll second it.
16, 15,
15,
16,
16, and
17.
We have a motion by Valerie and a second by Mark. Any further discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Glenn?
Aye.
Deborah?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank y'all. Okay, I will turn the floor over to the town attorney to handle item 12 on the agenda and item 16 on the agenda.
Andrea, since the council members that are there are not going to be involved in the FOIA training, should we come back for the closed session, or are we done?
No, you actually should stay because there's a requirement that you participate in it once every 2 years, and I
Okay.
want to make sure that you guys have met your requirement.
No problem. Just a question. Thanks.
Yeah, no, sorry, you can't get out of it.
I just okay. We'll see.
All right. I am going to try to make this as painless as possible for you. I promise. So as I was just mentioning, there's a new state law that requires that council members participate in Freedom of Information Act training at least once every 2 years. And the deadline is December 31st. So we just want to make sure that everybody's in compliance. The Virginia Freedom of Information Act, as you know, is a law that involves transparency in government. And in terms of the application and interpretation by the courts, the need for transparency is applied and interpreted broadly, and any exceptions to public view are interpreted narrowly. So when I look at the Freedom of Information Act, if there's any question, I err on the side of transparency rather than trying to enlarge one of the exceptions. If you have a need for guidance at any point, there's a wonderful website from the Virginia Freedom of Information Act Advisory Council. They have advisory opinions that they've issued. They also have forms and sample letters. And it is a wonderful resource if you're ever up late at night and can't sleep. There is also the FOIA petition to file suit on their website, and it is a one-page form. And the reason I point this out is that in the event that someone feels that they've been denied rights under the Freedom of Information Act, it's pretty easy for them to access this online, to fill it out, and to then submit it, which I think is an added incentive for following the law. The Freedom of Information Act is a little bit unusual in that most of the time, if Joe Elsa runs into my car and I sue her, I have to go to court and prove that Joe Elsa ran into my car and that I sustained damages. In a FOIA suit, it's not really like that. If someone can make out the basic elements of a FOIA suit, the burden of proof then shifts to the locality, and we have to prove that we followed the law. So that's kind of an interesting little fine point of FOIA cases in the event that they ever go to court. There are penalties if the court finds that a violation was made. Penalties, fines are imposed on council members in their individual capacities. And that means it comes out of your pocket, not the town's pocket. And it's $500 up to $2,000. In addition to that, if there's any kind of a finding that someone altered or destroyed records in an attempt to avoid the Freedom of Information Act, the court can impose an added civil penalty of up to $100 per record that is altered or destroyed. There are also additional penalties for someone who votes to certify a closed meeting if the closed meeting was not properly conducted. And that's a civil penalty of up to $1,000. I'm going to talk a little bit more about closed meetings in detail later on in this presentation. So meetings are subject to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. They are open to the public. And there must be 3 days notice posted of any type of meeting, a minimum of 3 days, because the public needs to be able to observe the meeting. And there must be written minutes that are taken at that meeting. So anytime you have 3 or more members of council discussing public business, that is a meeting. 3. And that can be at the grocery store. It can be at a social event. It can be anywhere. So my caution to you, and those who have served on council are familiar with me walking up to them and going, 1, 2, 3. Just be careful of how many people are there, because it's very easy to get 3 people together and just start talking about something that's on your mind that is related to public business. And if it is, that is considered an illegal meeting, and that is not something that I recommend that you do. You are allowed to go to social events. I don't think many of those are going on right now. There are exceptions for events that are purely social, as long as public business is not discussed. One of the new changes in the law this year is that at least quarterly, there must be an opportunity for public comment. Prior to this legislative amendment, there was no requirement that there be public comment at governing body meetings. There was just the requirement that citizens have the opportunity to observe. And as I said, meeting minutes must be kept at every meeting. Now, there is the ability to have electronic meetings. And this is an area that's gotten fairly confusing over the course of 2020. Originally in the law, there's always been an emergency provision that, if the governor declared a state of emergency and the town council had to meet to address some feature of that emergency, that could be done entirely electronically. What has happened, though, is that the General Assembly has passed some limited legislation that does allow for all virtual or all electronic meetings for the purpose of handling necessary or essential matters. And that ability at first June of next year at this time. I don't know whether that might be extended or not, given the pandemic, but there is the ability to meet virtually. And there are requirements that specifically relate to virtual meetings that I don't feel we really need to go into. In addition to, so there's emergency meetings, there's the ability to have all virtual meetings for necessary or essential business, but then there's also the ability to have an electronic meeting like we are now, where a quorum is physically assembled, but other members are participating electronically either for personal or medical reasons. Any action that is taken at a meeting that is not properly called, like if it's not properly noticed, or you don't have a quorum, or there's some other procedural defect, any action that's taken by the council is void. So it is really important, aside from the potential for FOIA litigation, it's important to follow the requirements of FOIA because we don't want any of our actions to be open to a challenge down the road. So I mentioned that there is the ability to go into closed meeting, and this is an opportunity for the council to discuss certain things privately because there's a need to discuss it privately in order to protect the best interests of the town. I have highlighted a couple of the most pertinent exceptions that we tend to use. One is the discussion of the hiring or performance or disciplining of specific employees of the public body. Another is the discussion of the acquisition of real property, only where discussion in an open meeting would affect the negotiating strategy or position of the council. So it's not just the acquisition of property, there has to be that added element of it really wouldn't be in our best interest to talk about it in public. Discussion about a business or industry or the expansion of a business or industry where no previous announcement has been made. And I will just share with you that there was a situation 10 years ago, maybe in the city of Fredericksburg, where the city attorney went on vacation to England, and Doug Wilder was in the process of building his proposed slave museum in Fredericksburg. And for whatever reason, Mr. Wilder wanted to discuss something related to the slave museum with the city council. He convinced them to meet, he convinced them to go into closed meeting, and they used this particular exception. Someone filed a suit saying, hey, you know, you weren't entitled to use that exception because a previous announcement was made. And the city responded and said, well, no, I mean, we've never made any announcement about it. Well, turns out a newspaper in the Tidewater area had previously made mention of it, and it was found that the city council had violated the Freedom of Information Act. So this particular exception is very, very narrow. You have to be sure nobody has ever said anything about it. Number 7 is consultation with legal counsel regarding actual litigation. And we're going to do that later this evening. There's also consultation with legal counsel regarding a specific legal matter, you know, a contract dispute or some area of law that requires further explanation, things like that. We're allowed to go into closed meeting to discuss. We cannot use this exception as kind of a way for the council to go in and talk about things that they don't want to talk about in public just because the attorney is there. It really does have to be, you know, that the focus of the closed meeting is the attorney giving legal advice. And then lastly, one that is used often is when you're discussing the terms of a contract. We can go into closed meeting to talk about that. So at the end of any closed meeting, you probably know that we come out and we reconvene and certify that only those things that were discussed, that were identified in the motion to go into closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered. This certification is required by state law, and should you ever feel that the council has gone outside of the scope, you should not vote to certify the closed meeting. And then that would insulate you from later prosecution. The Freedom of Information Act also applies to documents. All documents in the possession of the town are considered to be public documents, again, with limited exceptions. And the documents need to be related to the transaction of public business. So if Melissa writes a grocery list on a piece of paper that has the town letterhead, that is still not a public document. It has to be related to the transaction of public business. And I will share with you my favorite illustration of that. There was a council member once upon a time who viewed the clerk affectionately. And he was rather smitten and wrote lots of emails admiring her eyes and things like that, and expressing how he adored her and so on and so forth. And the newspaper got wind of this supposed scandal and requested all of the emails between the council member and this staff person. And the emails did not have to be released because none of them talked about public business. They were all just kind of, ooh, baby, baby. So the moral of that story is, if you're going to say something that you don't want to see in print, that is potentially embarrassing, that is not related to public business, keep that in a separate email from an email where you do go and discuss public business. Because if somebody asks for it and half of it is personal and the other half is public, I don't necessarily have a way of exempting the personal or embarrassing part of the email. I'm just required to give it all. And here I've included the definition of public records. It's basically anything. It can be text messages, it can be private Facebook messages, it can be any email. It doesn't matter what email account it comes out of. If it's related to the transaction of public business, it's a public record. So my advice is always to utilize your town email for town business, and then that way, if we ever get a FOIA request, the town staff can easily harvest those records and process the FOIA request, and you won't be tasked with going through your Yahoo account trying to read 300 emails and decide which ones might pertain to this FOIA request. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Andrea.
That was pretty painless, right?
Good job, Andrea.
Good
Not
job.
As
Right.
Good
not
job.
as painful as we thought.
I kept rolling.
All right, we'll move on to item 16. The town attorney memos.
Yes. At the last meeting, we talked about, or the council talked about, restructuring some of the positions at the town. And council asked me, and I agreed, to go back and kind of try to tweak job descriptions to make it all work. And I sat down and struggled with it a fair amount, realizing that I think we kind of need a framework before I go and really fine tune and make the job descriptions absolutely the way they need to be. And my proposal is that we have a town manager, that we have a deputy town manager, and that we have a clerk, and that we have a deputy clerk. My thoughts are this gives a direct chain of command. It gives cross training. It, I think that duties between either of the positions, whether it be town manager or deputy town manager, can be adapted to particular areas of expertise, and that is very common in the field of local government. I think it makes it easier that if someone should leave the employment of the town, it makes it easier to fill that position. And I mean, particularly in this era of COVID, I think it gives us a backup person for every position in the town. And so I'm asking for further guidance from you about how you feel about that, and if you like that idea, then I will go forward and finalize job descriptions in that way.
Raya, what do we do about a town treasurer? You didn't even mention the town treasurer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did include that in there. So the clerk town treasurer, I'm sorry.
Clerk town treasurer, it's a combination of a clerk and the town treasurer, right?
Yes.
But isn't that a high level position that has some liabilities with it? I know of responsibilities, but liabilities and certain certifications and training.
I don't know about certifications and training. I mean, there is liability. You can certainly make it any level that you want. In my experience, it's not uncommon to have the clerk be a treasurer also. The idea being that your clerk is a trusted member of your staff.
You certainly have to have a very qualified person to be treasurer. That's a very intensive job. Melissa did a great job in that position, no question about it, with great skills. And so filling that's going to be critically important. Melissa, wouldn't you agree that's a pretty critical position, the town treasurer?
So, just
Melissa, you're on mute. I can't hear you.
sorry,
Maybe
I
she's
was
not there.
I was
apologize.
distracting her. I'm sorry, Glenn. Can you
No,
repeat that?
I think it is an important position, Glenn. I agree with you. I don't think you should have your town manager and be also your treasurer.
I agree with that, but
Yeah.
then you've got a part-time treasurer and a part-time clerk, right?
I
No.
would make that one position.
No, I mean, the way I thought we restructured before Melissa came back full time was that we were working towards moving Tracy to the treasurer position. When Melissa went part time as the treasurer and we had Tracy as full time. So they're still full time employees. They're not part time employees. It's just moving the titles to fit the job descriptions. And this is kind of the framework. I think my opinion, looks pretty good.
And
But
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, that's it. I don't.
I think the framework can be shifted however you all feel might be appropriate. I'm just kind of trying to give the skeleton, if you will.
And I think the skeleton works with the way that we kind of have staff assigned at this point. I mean, as you said in your memo, that input from Joelsa and Melissa have been provided. So
Yeah, but also, I don't think council has fully made their minds up whether we're going out for a town manager or whether Melissa will turn full manager.
no, we
So,
have.
I mean, we still have that we have to consider down the road as well
Yeah.
before we can make any true changes, at least to the staff that we have here on hand.
Yeah, just for for clarification, I think what we need first is the framework like we've got here. If we can agree on this framework, then we build out the job descriptions, or we scrap the whole idea and we stay the way we are and we hire a town manager. Um, I I like this idea. I've said I liked it last month. I think this firms up a lot of questions that some of us had over job responsibilities, and as we can see some job descriptions, maybe we can see that clear delineation of each position. But I think this gives that chain of command that we had concerned about at the last meeting too, of who you take the issue to. Well, the town manager is still the town manager, but we got somebody close behind him as the deputy town manager. So
Well, my major concern is the level of expertise required for the treasurer of the town. That's not a light responsibility, and it takes somebody with some pretty specific training and skills, I think. So I think that's a very heavy consideration that the new council should consider.
yeah, I agree. I think I mean, I would support council being in favor of this framework and then moving to the next council to finish out the job descriptions. And I firmly believe we have the personnel already in house to fill out the way this is currently driven. In my opinion, that's just me as a citizen. So it's just mainly getting the job descriptions written and giving them their titles. But that's just me as a citizen. So soon be citizen.
Andrea, I think these look great. I agree and echo the comments that have been made. It brings a cohesiveness to the staff. They are cross-trained, which I think is vital. Again, an organizational chart or a chain of command is always something that is needed, and I think given the past challenges, that would really flow nicely so everyone knows exactly where they sit. I think the job descriptions are definitely needed. My only thing was for the deputy clerk administrative assistant, but once you see the job descriptions, payroll, invoicing, bookkeeping experience, those types of things. I don't know if that makes any changes from
What they currently do?
what they currently do. I don't
mean,
know.
Is this
That's why
is this a
I
big
was curious about job
yeah,
descriptions the last time. That's
yeah.
why I had asked about it.
Is this a big diversion from what they currently do in their daily duties now?
It's definitely going to add responsibility for sure. But the way that our accounting system is and our utility system is, everything is a two-part. Someone enters, someone approves. So that's usually the relationship, even currently now, between the administrative assistant and the deputy clerk treasurer. There's that relationship. There is going to be some added duty to the deputy clerk. We are technically losing one employee, even though we haven't had 5 employees this whole time. Technically, we are losing one employee. But this allows there to be some oversight in the accounting, especially since they're handling money, they're handling payroll. Currently, that oversight is either done between the administrative assistant and the deputy clerk treasurer, or the deputy clerk treasurer and myself. And actually, since I'm serving as all three, right, they're serving as town manager and deputy clerk treasurer, there are some things that are kind of like, maybe I'm too involved in for
No, I agree. I mean,
but everybody is going to get more responsibility. I mean, that's what we're eliminating position and kind of breaking it up to everyone. So
yeah, I get all that. I just want to make sure that whoever's taking care of payroll, especially cash disbursements, has some kind of bookkeeping knowledge, so they
yes,
know
so
whatever
when
doing
we
left,
talk
you do the
about
right. That kind of that's my biggest thing.
that person would be responsible for the initial entry. Then it would go up to the next level
Gotcha.
for approval. So a lot of it's more like data entry and front end.
Gotcha. Okay. And the job descriptions will be really vital for that.
So I get,
And so one thing, if I could add, I really came up with this on my own. I didn't talk to any staff about it. I just I gave it a lot of thought. And, I generally know what staff does. I don't really know what staff does. And so my focus was not on so much tailoring it to individual people, but developing a structure that works for the town.
Mhm.
And what I hear from staff is that staff can be rearranged to fill these positions. That's great. I'm just trying to look at it objectively from the outside of what really makes sense.
I think too, we have to start with the job descriptions. I mean, that's a good place to start. Don't you guys think? I mean,
yeah, I think this framework is the start, and the second step is now job descriptions and see how they shake out, and then gives council in January and February a chance to decide if this is a route they want to go or do they want to hire a town manager and keep the current structure. But I think it would be nice to see the next step of this before we make that decision whether we want to scrap this or go back to the old way of thinking. I mean, is that council's pleasure to keep this framework for now, build out the job descriptions to match this framework, and then that gives you a decision to make in January, February? Do you want to move forward with the new structure, or do you want to stay steadfast with the current structure and hire a town manager versus rearranging current staff?
Yeah, we should come up with job descriptions, because we gotta make sure that, that the personnel we have on staff is gonna be qualified for the jobs with the job descriptions. So we may have to match people with the job description or job descriptions with the people. So, we just need to make sure that we do stay running as a fine-tuned, machine like we have been.
I have a question. How is this going to match up with when you put treasurer onto somebody's position? Does that mean a $10,000 increase? I mean, how about the money situation here? I mean, I want to know about
I
that.
think that will come with the job descriptions, Gene. I think that's when you start figuring out what somebody's value at that position is, what their responsibility is, and I think that needs to be seen when you see the job descriptions. Also, is job descriptions include the pay scale, along with their job responsibilities, and I think that needs to be included at the next step.
So yeah, and so my thought was I can produce job descriptions, and I think that town has sort of pay ranges or existing pay ranges, and then council could decide pay ranges for these new positions.
Yeah, I mean, because we all want to take into consideration the reason that we're entertaining this is as a cost saving measure. So we don't want to necessarily offset all of our savings
with increases.
So if we want to make sure we keep in mind that we're going to still make a savings for the town, because that's what drew this or brought this to the forefront from the get-go. So
yeah.
But is all this just temporary? I mean, are we still going forward to hire a town manager? Or?
I think once we see the job descriptions, that's when the new council will make a decision. Do we want to go with in-house like this framework with the current staff, or do you want to go out and keep current framework and hire a town manager?
Okay.
I think that's kind of where we're at. I would think. I wouldn't jump the gun and go hire and pay a lot of money to advertise for a town manager until you've seen job descriptions to see if this will work. If it won't work, or y'all don't feel it will work, then go hire a town manager.
I think Andrea made a really good point. Is you write the framework in the job description as a general thing and not specifically tailored to the personnel that you currently have.
Correct.
That personnel that we currently have probably fit that well, but you don't craft that because this may not be, the only time that you have to do this.
Correct. I agree, Glenn. I agree. It needs to be drafted for the position, not the person.
And I think one of the problems that the town has had is that there's really never been a number 2 position.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of other municipalities have town manager, deputy town manager. I think it's, I'm for moving forward with that, getting the job descriptions and see where we go from there.
Yeah, and even if we don't use this framework, I still think if we go back and we keep what we have now and hire a town manager, I think the evaluation of adding that deputy should be entertained also.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for preparing this, and
Thank you.
I know
I
the new
appreciate it.
council looks forward to seeing your proposal of this built out with the job descriptions.
Yeah, it helps me know what direction in the woods I'm moving in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then we have one more.
Thank you, Andrea.
One more.
Well, I gave you an attorney-client privilege
Yes.
confidential document. I didn't know whether you wanted to discuss that publicly or not. I made it confidential so that you would have that choice.
Okay. I think this is something we probably should defer. I wouldn't want to make a decision on this as the outgoing council or mayor. I think we probably should defer this to the new council on how we want to handle these going forward.
I feel like if there's a question, then we should go privately.
Do you want me to add it to our closed meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can do that.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to move that to the closed meeting. We'll go council committee reports. Gene? Okay. Okay. Deborah, since I saw you pop up on the Zoom.
Yeah. We did not meet.
Okay. Glenn? You still there, Glenn?
Glenn?
Yeah, we had the EDA meeting. Joelle also recapped everything that we did there. She's done a really, really fine job of making sure she shepherded the process through. And quite frankly, we had some really good discussion, and I was extremely pleased with the number of buildings, number of businesses that took advantage of both the CARE Acts, COVID things that we did for them, as well as the air filtration. It's what the community needed, and again, I think our town council should be proud of what they've done for the community.
Thank you, Glenn. Mark? Tammy?
Yeah.
Okay, and Otis had to leave. So, Andrea, real quick, I just want to ask this before I entertain a motion for closed session. We have 3 new council members here. Are they allowed to stay in the closed session with this? Because what we're going to be
That is up to council. If you want them to be in there, they can be in there.
I think what we're going to be discussing will move forward into 2021. So my opinion is I think they probably should stay to be brought up to speed on what we're going to be discussing. Council, I'll just take a consensus. Gene, Valerie, Deborah,
Yeah, it's fine.
Glenn, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Mark, Tammy, okay. I saw you packing your stuff up. I just wanted to make sure if I had to stay, y'all had to stay. So. I don't have anything else. Again, I thank y'all for the resolution and the plaque, and again, it's been fun most of the time. Is there a motion to go into? Andrea, do you have that new motion?
I do. Is there a motion to go into closed meeting pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel regarding a specific legal matter requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel? And there will be 2 matters, contractual disputes with Kelvic regarding sewer repair and replacement project, as well as contracts of public employees, and pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A7, Jet Lewis and Town of Bowling Green.
Is there a
I'll
motion?
make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion by Glenn, a second by Mark. All in favor, raise your right hand. Glenn,
Aye.
Deborah?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go in closed session and we'll take a 5-minute recess or less. Thank you. Is there a motion to come out of closed session? Is there a second? We have a motion by Mark, second by Tammy. Gene, do you certify? I certify. Mark? Tammy? Glenn?
Yes, sir.
Deborah? Deborah?
I certify.
And Andrea, did the three new ones certify?
No.
Okay. Alrighty. Is there a motion to adjourn? We have a motion by Mark. Is there a second? Second by Valerie. No further discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Done.